Welcome to the Sawyer Somm Show. I am Adolfo Foronda, the voice off camera. And you are?
I'm Chris Sawyer, sommelier to stars, and from SawyerSomm.com.
Nice. So Chris,
Yep.
What do we got going on today, bro?
You know, this week's a big week. It's Sonoma Wine Country weekend. We're having a great time getting ready for it, but there's a lot to talk about that's coming up. I've got 4 great wines that we're going to taste today. I've also got some interesting wines from Bulgaria, believe it or not. We are going to taste a little bit from Bulgaria today. And we're going to taste some from Napa Valley, a little bit of Rutherford dust, as we call it, in Napa Valley. And it's from a special tasting I went to and was part of. And we're going to taste a few Cabernets from there, too. So a lot of stuff going on today in this show.
Exciting stuff, exciting stuff. Let's get the party started then, my man. Oh, wait, real quick. Are there any events, anything coming up here?
Well, Sonoma Wine Country Weekend, if you do not have your tickets, I'm not sure if there are any left. I know that there were a few winemaker dinners that were kind of just maybe close to being sold out, and a few lunches you might want to check. So SonomaWineCountryWeekend.com, you can check that out. And there's a lot of things going on. I am lucky to say that I am part of the Sommelier Stars team, and I helped found that some years ago.
Yeah.
It's a great thing, and I'm going to be with a lot of great sommeliers from across the nation. I am excited about that. They'll be arriving on Friday, most of them, and I can't wait to see a lot of my old friends and to meet some new ones. We're going to have a showdown, all of us sommeliers, that night at Rodney Strong Winery, and we're going to get really into it the next day at the Taste of Sonoma. Which is going to be a great thing at out there in the middle of Russian River Valley, which is going to be amazing in itself.
Wow.
But the fact is that the auction the next day is going to help a lot of charitable events, or people and events all at once, but also the young kids in Sonoma County, which is great because my boy Rupert benefits from that. So that's why I got the top table. They're big bidders, and everyone there will be big bidders. And so it's going to be a neat weekend. But I got to say one thing. I will not be at the Taste of Sonoma because my brother, Ethan, is getting married, and I am part of the wedding ceremony. So as much as I love to be there at Taste of Sonoma, it is the one event I will not be a part of, and it's kind of sad, but it's kind of awesome too in the same respect. Adolfo, you're going to be there with me.
100%. It's going to be a blast.
That night, we did put the guys in order the other night. I did throw a bachelor party for my brother, and it was awesome. Great wines provided. They went down to my cellar. After, of course, we had to go to Lagunitas.
And beers as well, Lagunitas, which was wonderful. We were in a VIP lounge, basically. It was incredible.
No problems there. We did well, and it was light when we all went to bed. So that's all I can say. We could do it, and we did.
Well, thanks to Lagunitas, and now let's start talking about wine.
Okay, so I brought 4 examples of Sonoma Wine Country Weekend and what people can expect. One thing that we're very well known for in Sonoma County is diversity, and the kinds of grapes that we can grow is very different than a lot of different areas around California and the United States. So I had to start with a legendary vineyard, and also a great winemaker who's really one of the classics of Sonoma County, and that's Steve McCrosty and the McCrosty Winery. And this is the Dutton Ranch Chardonnay, and just a classic. You know, Adolfo and I both grew up in Russian River Valley, and so thinking about the Duttons, when I think about them originally, was they grew all the right produce. I mean, and so when you saw some of the great things that they were doing with the berries and the apples and all of those kinds of things that they were growing, that was the time back in the 70s. But then it changed a lot, and Warren Dutton was one of the main people that started to change what Sonoma County was about. And that's agriculture, but in different ways. And one of those great agricultural types of categories is obviously grapes. And they were very smart to do this in the beginning. And we're very excited about everything the Duttons do now. And they were honored earlier this year at the barrel auction that we did for kind of a different type of clientele. But that's why we get to open it up a little bit with Sonoma Wine Country Weekend, and to have the Dutton Chardonnay right here. This is a new vintage by them. This is the 2013. And McCrosty, if you haven't been there, it's they've got a new amazing tasting room right in the middle of Russian River Valley. So fantastic stuff. And let's taste this.
Chardonnay, Dutton Ranch.
Chardonnay.
Bye, Dad.
Oh, goodbye, Rupert. My young sommelier is leaving me at this point. Have a great evening. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That taste.
beautiful nose on this. It's tropical. There's that kind of mango, the peaches, all of these kinds of things. You start thinking about all the types of grapefruit that you've ever eaten in your life when you smell a really good Russian River Chardonnay. And
so sweet.
I mean, the beauty of the nose. I could just sit here and smell this for a while. It's a beautiful wine.
Dutton Ranch Chardonnay.
Hate to spit that one out. Boy, a little bit of almond paste, a little bit of spice on the back end.
Yeah.
Nice little cinnamon. We had actually a little curry with this a little while ago before we started the show, and it was fantastic. It was pretty much the only wine that we tasted prior to this show, so it's tasting very, very nice.
With that, huh? Yeah.
A lot of great opportunities to taste not only the Chardonnays of Sonoma County, but think about Sauvignon Blanc, think about the Rhone varieties and all the great styles of Roussanne, Marsanne, Viognier that we have there. Some really neat new things like Vermentino that you get to taste. Arnaise, if you can get your hands on some Arnaise, if Sagacio has some, or one of those other cool wineries that's making a cool kind of wine out of a different variety. It happens in Sonoma County, and it's our luxury there by having a lot of diversity and different kinds of climates, different types of soil. It all shows. So let's move on.
Wonderful stuff.
The second wine I'm going to show you is has a connection with what we'll be doing as the sommelier team this weekend, although they are not the particular sponsor. Rodney Strong is, but Davis Bynum is actually owned by Rodney Strong, and so I always have a little part of my heart in here for basically the Davis Bynum label. And the fact that Rodney Strong has taken great care of this label too. And so this is Clone 777, and this is Pinot Noir. It's from Russian River Valley too. And I'm going to pour you a little bit here,
nice.
Adolfo.
Thank you.
And I have tasted this one before. It is a very, very lovely style.
That color.
So when we get into, when we get into Pinot Noir, we talk a lot about the clones. The clones are the cuttings that came over from Europe. And when they're Dijon clones, they tend to have the 3 digits. So this is a 777. There's also 667, 113, 114, 115, 828, all of these kinds of clones. There's also these different types of cuttings that came in. So we call it like the Swan Special Selection or the Calera Special Selection. And those are ones that found their way here, not through UC Davis where I went, but through other means, usually someone's suitcase or stuffed inside of a jacket at some point, just because we didn't have these kinds of grapes growing here, especially Pinot Noir. So what we've done, especially in Sonoma County, has been really exciting over the past 30 years since we were kids. Adolfo and I were kids back then, and what we've gotten to see has been really exciting.
It's remarkable. Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, the fact that we're such Pinot snobs now, we are, but you know what? Bring it on. I want to taste everyone's Pinot Noir as long as it's good.
Yes.
And I've always felt that way about Davis Bynum, and they've always been a solid producer on West Side Road originally. And when you really go back on the history of this brand, it's a really star brand of Sonoma County. So that's why I really wanted to bring this one to show it off.
No joke.
Beautiful nose, lots of berries in here, that raspberry note.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of strawberry plum combination. Tangy as can be. I just like it. It's got all that great energy that's pent up in there, but once you pour it in a very nice glass, and this is a very good style of glass to be drinking this out of, it really makes a difference. And I feel like this is a great example of Sonoma County in general. I mean, we grow more Pinot Noir in Sonoma County than any other county in the nation. It's just because we kind of caught on to it a long time ago. We planted a lot of it, and we took a lot of chances and risks. And I give Davis Bynum himself a lot of credit for that. I mean, what a guy, and really being a pioneer in this. And I will give a little shout out today to to another winery that's kind of in the area. That's Iron Horse Winery, and Joyce Sterling and her family, they started that winery 40 years ago today. So shout out to Joy and her family for making not only great Pinot Noirs, but excellent sparkling wines. And another thing we can be very excited about in Sonoma County. I hope to see Joy and members of her family this weekend as well. So beautiful wine.
Davis Bynum.
Wow. Ooh, that is sorry, I didn't even spit that
Dijon
just because it was just really good.
James Vineyard.
Yeah, loving that. You know, and that's one that I would say is definitely one of those ones where you're talking about a lot of fish, ahi tuna, sushi, getting into grilled vegetables, pork, chicken, all sorts of fun things that you can have with this. And, you know, that's another thing that a lot of people will be seeing this weekend with Sonoma Wine Country Weekend, and that is just great chefs everywhere.
Yeah.
So I have done my best to work out this week. I'm going to need it to make it through this weekend, and I'm going to be very happy as I go along. So here to Davis Bynum, huh? Boom.
Salud, so good.
Another great one.
My goodness.
Clone 777 by Davis Bynum. Very, very good one. Next one we're going to talk about is something that also put Sonoma County on the map, and that is Zinfandel. You're looking at one of the bigger lovers of Zinfandel of the world, and I think one of the great wineries of them all that really helped us in Sonoma County a lot to acknowledge what you know Sonoma County is about, why we should keep these old vines in the ground, and that's Dry Creek Vineyards. And so these are great friends of mine. And this is a new 2014 vintage. Adolfo and I are going to switch out our glasses just to get a little bit more out of this wine.
Yeah.
A little bit more slender glasses here. We're going to be tasting this in a Cabernet right after it. But this is a really special wine. And this is the one, I brought you guys the one that you can really find in the marketplace fairly easy. This is just the regular Dry Creek Heritage Vine, Sonoma County, 2014. They just got a great write-up. I believe it was USA Today, top 10 places to visit in wine country. So, I mean, congratulations to Kim and her family, and Don Wallace too, and just the whole family. So here we are, just kind of looking at the swirl, and Adolfo, I'll give you that. So that's the heritage vines. So these are the older vines that were planted, and also cuttings from those older vines. And when we're talking about how old is old in Sonoma County, we're talking about the stuff planted before Prohibition. And so a lot of these vines are from there. Some of them are from before World War II. Sorry, World War II.
Yeah.
But this is budwood from historic pre-Prohibition vines. So all of these vines that go into this are from that prehistoric era of Prohibition, as we call it. I mean, that's over 100 years ago to some people, it would seem, but, you know, really we're talking about 1918 and getting into a time that was really hard for Sonoma County. We've lived through it, obviously, and we've done a great job since then. And the fact that families like this came in and bought these old properties but didn't pull out the vines, they kept making those same wines, just in a little bit of a different way, kind of showcasing the great flavors of those vineyards. And the fact is, they do a great job. This is the one that you can find in the marketplace, and that's why I thought it would be a nice example for all of you that are listening across the nation right now to really get this. But I'll tell you, I did taste this just when I was checking to see if it was corked or something, but man, the minute I tasted this, I loved it. Oh boy. If you've ever had boysenberries, the nose on this is so boysenberry, blackberry, a little bit of lavender. Just amazing what's going on in this nose right now.
This is like night and day.
Yeah. So let's taste.
All right. Dry Creek Zinfandel.
Spicy,
2014.
Wonderful, great acidity. Dry Creek Valley. For those of you that know Healdsburg's become very hot. It's a hipster place to go. Great restaurants, great people, great tasting rooms, great everything there. News story by me just came out in Sacramento Magazine, and I did highlight Dry Creek as one of those spots in Sonoma County to visit. It is definitely there and Sonoma are the two main cities that you visit. It's hard to resist them, and it's easy to call them home while you're there, and then just kind of branch out after that and go to these other areas. But Dry Creek is basically northwest of there. And so you're just going to go just up Highway 101 and take a quick turn and you're in Dry Creek. But it actually flows all the way towards the ocean. And so it does get a lot of maritime influence too. And it was very smart by all the Italian immigrants that came there and really planted these vines back before the turn of last century. And it shows in this wine. It's a fantastic wine. You know, this is one of my favorites. You know, we're getting into the end of baseball season and into the playoffs for the World Series and Go Giants. You never know, it is that even year, just saying. But you know, here comes football and all the teams that we love, and tailgate parties are on, and you know, basketball season will be starting. Zinfandel, you bring this to a party, you're going to be a hit no matter what.
Yeah, this is
it's
great.
On. It's so good.
To go with the dogs and the chowder and the whatever you're.
It's so big, so juicy,
fries.
but also that cutting acidity in here. I mean, it just makes it special. And it's not like a big over the top. A lot of people got turned off by Zinfandel, where it was kind of porty, very sweet, all those things. This is all about acidity. It's all about brightness and freshness.
Yeah, it's smooth though. Yeah. Very interesting.
Well, the last wine we're going to taste for Sonoma County, and as a preview for Sonoma County Wine Country Weekend, is a very special wine, I must say. It is not tasted by many, but if you get to Sonoma County and you really want an amazing experience, that is why I would say go visit Lassiter Family Winery. And this is my great friend John Lassiter from Pixar and Nancy Lassiter. I work with them in the fact that I share these wines with great sommeliers across the nation. And the fact is, I keep turning it the wrong way. The fact is, I just was at Saison in the city the other day with this bottle, and I wanted just to taste great people on this. And that was a great restaurant to be at, and to have their staff taste this wine with me. And I thought it would be a good thing to bring it for you guys to kind of get the idea. This was the first ever release by John and Nancy from their estate, which is in Glen Ellen. You know, you have to call and book a reservation there, but I'm just telling you, this is something that they never even released this. I know the rest of the wines, and they're all fabulous, but you know, John and Nancy have always been great supporters of the Sonoma Wine Country Weekend. And this is a very good example of a Cabernet-based blend. So this is 80% Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's fantastic just as it is. And you can smell it, you can feel it, that kind of dark berry fruit right off the bat, but it also has that kind of like black olive kind of note going in there, that kind of graininess that's about the use of good wood, and also the minerals that come from a great site. Sonoma Valley is where all these grapes are grown, and the rest of it is a little bit of Merlot and Cabernet Franc. They're also very well known for Malbec, which they have, and is used in blends that they do, and Rhone varieties as well. So this is a great example of the Lassiter family. This is called Reminiscence. And one of the great things about where John and Nancy are is Glen Ellen is where the old train used to come through onto, you know, to get through Sonoma, because we didn't have cars in the old days. And the fact is, it's a really good example, because some of the first Cabernet vines in all the United States were planted just down the road from them at the old Westwood Vineyard, which is right there on the Cundy property now, the Cundy estate. So there's a nice story that just kind of got rebroadcast this week about caves and exploring wine caves in Sonoma County and Napa Valley.
No kidding.
And I actually, that was my story, and it was in Napa Sonoma magazine, so you can look that up. You can find it on my website right now. And it's actually, Cundy is about a mile, maybe a mile and a half from the Lassiter's estate there. And that's about 100 acres overall. And they sell most of their grapes to other people. Julia Iotosca and Bart Hansen are the two winemakers, and they make it right there on the property. And what a great pleasure to taste this. What do you think, Adolfo? Are you feeling this?
Oh, wonderful. This is serious stuff, man. Yeah.
My great friend Petra at Epic Roast House just bought some of this, and she just loved it. I mean, the Roast House and this John Lasseter wine.
What would you have this as? What is?
You know, I would. The great thing about it is it can.
And
be
what
done,
band would you pair this with?
Okay,
What song? Now we're getting deep.
Now let's get into this.
We'll recap the ones and the bands.
Going into like Pixar theme songs,
and
we might have to think about that.
Yeah, this is a tough.
Yeah.
One.
For some reason, Deborah Harry just kind of came to mind. I don't know. Can we do Blondie with this? I don't know.
Ooh, yeah.
Just a beautiful wine, but a lot of character, a lot of flavors. And, you know, at Sonoma Wine Country Weekend, I know John and Nancy can't be there this year, but I wanted to showcase their wine. You got plenty of chances to taste great Cabernets, great Cabernet blends, great Merlots. I mean, people think Merlot is underrated. It is underrated. It should be at the top. It's also related to Cabernet Franc, just as Cabernet Sauvignon is. Wow. And all of these grapes grow fantastic in Sonoma County. So without further ado, I think I'm going to take this last sip. And what do you think about this? Are you feeling this?
This is really impressive. And it's such an honor to be tasting this. And, you know, it's such a limited supply and a rare type of opportunity.
Yeah.
The 2012 Reminiscence Lasseter family.
Yeah, they only make 200 cases of this wine, so that's why it would be kind of fun. And if you get into Sonoma County, especially Sonoma Valley, this is one of the great wineries you can go visit. And like I said, Dry Creek, as we tasted, Russian River, you know, Petaluma Gap's coming up. We're looking at, you know, Knights Valley, Anderson Valley, the new types of places like the Sonoma Coast. I mean, we'll get way more into Sonoma Coast when we talk more about Chardonnay and Pinot Noir and Rosés and everything. But I just think that every time you come to Sonoma County, you have to investigate. And so I brought 4 great wines for you to investigate today. And I hope you guys will join me and be at Sonoma Wine Country Weekend this weekend.
Yeah.
So enjoy that.
All right.
So Adolfo, everything is good, you know, besides that. I mean, I think we're getting all ramped up for this weekend.
Nice. Should we talk about news?
Yes, let's hear something that's going on. What's
all right in the world today? Let's well, thanks to News Leader, wine and cider sales are up in Virginia of all places, right? So wine and hard cider sales are up in Virginia, according to the governor. More than 500,000 cases, more than 6.6 million bottles, actually is what they're saying, were sold for fiscal year 2016, up 6% from 2015. Virginia wine sales have increased by 34%.
Wow.
Since fiscal year 2010. So the Virginia Wine Marketing Office also tracked Virginia cider sales, you know, and those are up substantially too. So Chris, Virginia ranks 5th in the number of wineries in the nation. Yes. So go figure. Well, with more than 285, and is also the nation's 5th largest wine grape producing state, is what they're saying. So what's going on with this?
And you know what? It just surpassed Texas, and wow. that was a big deal because I was with the governor of Virginia in San Francisco. He was a great guy, and we had a fantastic talk. And I will very soon transcribe that great interview that we did, and you'll see it on the website as soon as possible on SawyerSomm.com. But he also fascinated me by the fact that cider is so hot there right now. So it's not just wine, it's also cider. But the wines that I feel are the best from Virginia right now, if you guys get there or if you just happen to have a restaurant that really has some Virginia wines on it, what would I be drinking if I'm the sommelier? Definitely Viognier for the white. Viognier, there's something about that air there, and it's different than what we've got here in California. I mean, we do not have the types of the air pressure that they do there. I mean, it's hot and it stays hot at night, and that's something that we're not used to here in California, where it's warm during the day and then it just crashes down about 30 to 40 degrees at night. There, it crashes down about maybe 10 degrees sometimes, and you're like, "Oh, what? It's that hot in the evening?" Oh, yeah. Wow. So that's what fascinates me, how a white grape like Viognier can really grow there, but it does a great job. Syrah is another grape that's from that same region in France originally, the Rhone Valley, and it does extremely well there. If you get into bigger kinds of red wines, you start talking about Cabernet Franc, one of the better areas in the United States for Cabernet Franc, which is that great grape that came from the Loire Valley originally. It's the godfather to Cabernet Sauvignon. And because of that, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot grow extremely well there. So if you find a Bordeaux style blend from Virginia, try it. You'll be impressed. I mean, I was at the Masters of Wine tasting, I think it was last year in San Francisco, and there's all these great wines from Washington, California, everything. I was just fascinated by the Virginia wines. I taste all these ones on the West Coast all the time, and they were really good, and I always believe in them. But hey, Virginia, what do you know? What do you know?
All right, on to the next story, Chris.
Yes.
Big news. TSG Consumer Partners, a San Francisco-based private equity investment group, announced yesterday that it will acquire Duckhorn Wine Company.
Yes, this is
the
a big deal.
Napa-based Merlot powerhouse from the current majority investor GI Partners. Neither party disclosed financial terms, but the transaction includes all of the Duckhorn Wine Company brands, including Duckhorn Vineyards, GoldenEye, Paradox, who we talked about last week.
Yeah, we did.
Migration, Decoy, and Canvasback, as well as wineries and more than 600 acres of estate vineyards.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm not sure how to explain that, except for I'm glad for the family, for the Duckhorns, for making a sale that they felt was a sound sale. They really helped start Napa Valley in the modern era, especially with Merlot and getting into these great Cabernets. Hey, I'll be the first to admit, I got plenty in my cellar. Their Sauvignon Blanc is one of the best in the United States. All their new ventures, especially GoldenEye and these other ones at Decoy and Paradox that you find, Migration too is another one that you find in the marketplace. Great restaurants, really, really fine wine dealers, great wine shops. There's a reason they're great. They put their heart and soul into it. And so for them to sell, they had to have made a decision like that, you know, it's got to be someone that can keep our name true to what we did. And I think they made a good decision here. If you're going to sell to someone that wants to get in and wants to make it a
well, it sounds like they bought a really great company. I mean, they were pushing into Washington. They pushed into Washington, and they also thrived with their double-digit growth streak. Duckhorn continuing 2015 with an 18.8% rise in 121,000 cases. And also TSG Consumer Partners is an investment firm with $5 billion of assets under management, focused on a variety of consumer goods, including Brewer, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Well, you can't knock
PBR, right?
Blue Ribbon. I mean, that's big.
Yeah. All right, Chris. So let's see another one, so which is kind of a downer sort of story here. Pioneer of wine science Vernon Singleton passed away at 93. Professor Singleton's research on plant and wine phenolics influenced generations of winemakers.
Yeah, phenolics is all about like the ripening and, you know, how a grape itself is, you know, it looks like it's ripe from the outside, but what's happening inside it? I mean, the color might be right. It looks like the grape is worthy of picking, but is are the seeds, are they developed enough to pick it? Or is it just going to taste kind of green? And phenolics is a huge thing that we study all the time now. So it's a lovely thing that he made some accomplishments that we all use today. And so it was a great loss. And we send some love to his family. And hey, we use his skills every day out there in the vineyards.
100%. All right. What are we talking about now?
Okay. So I got this package from my great friends at Bulgarian Master Vintners. So I've got some friends in the wine industry that are Bulgarian, and this is a big deal. And they have wanted me to taste Bulgarian wines for a long time. So I figure since we were talking about Sonoma County and we were getting so gung-ho on America right now, that let's taste some Bulgarian wines and let's see where it sets itself apart, or maybe it tastes very similar to California wines or wines from around the United States. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to kind of bring a few in with me. So the first wine that we're going to taste here, Adolfo, this is a Syrah. This is from Le Photography, and this is from the Minkav brothers. This is a vineyard, and the whole area. Oops, sorry, going that way. There we go. The brothers themselves. This is kind of in the southern part of Bulgaria, and all these wines are going to be from that area. What makes it interesting is it's near the Black Sea, so it has that Mediterranean almost feel to it, like the Mediterranean in general. But it also has mountains around it that protect it from that really cold air coming in, especially from the higher mountains where the snow is setting up there. So I thought that this would be kind of fun. So what we're going to taste here is, this is a fairly, this one is a really approachable version of Syrah. And remember, one thing about Syrah that's very kind of cool, it goes back to Italy in general. And when Caesar started conquering basically his world and the world of the continent of Europe, he went into different countries and he started taking these grape cuttings and bringing them back into Italy and researching them. And he took tons of things. That's why Italy has the most grape varieties of any country in the world. And it's just because he was a researcher in himself. And he would go back to these countries and tell them where to plant their grapes. Syrah is one of those kinds of grapes that kind of spread. And so did Grenache. And I mean, Garnacha, that was from Spain. And that happened even, kind of more in the medieval times or before the medieval times that really that started to spread. But Syrah has a history that dates back to Persia. We're talking about 2,000 years ago, where it's been documented that it was grown in Persia. So we're talking about one of the older grapes of the world. So you take it to Bulgaria, can it work? Let's find out.
Yeah.
So.
And look at this. This label reminds me of like a fantastic Nagel or something like that. It's like,
I like
the purple and the
purple
weird
kind of makes you think about red wine right away. So I saw a great thing with
wow, how about that nose?
Arnold Schwarzenegger was in Napa Valley yesterday, just so you guys know. It was great. My good friend Jim Sullivan, who works with Visa Tui Wines and those great guys, and he was taking pictures with them, and my great friends at V Wines in Yountville were taking pictures with him. Guess what Arnold's wearing? A purple shirt.
Nice.
He had a cigar in his mouth most of the time, but he did look pretty good.
Sexy. Very sexy.
Yeah, not bad.
It's too sexy. Too sexy.
So, does it smell like Syrah? Absolutely.
Yes, it does. It smells like Chris Sawyer's cellar.
This man knows I like my Syrah. I like this a lot. Actually, it's got this dark kind of fruit kind of component to it. Very plummy, dark cherries. That little bit of bitterness towards the end, but it's kind of more like a dark chocolate kind of effect. The fact is, it's not a full-bodied wine. It's medium body, but that would suggest that it's very good with a lot of different types of food. I would say with some fine cheeses, kind of those medium cheeses that you're getting into.
Yeah.
We did try a few of those tonight, not with this wine, but we should have. I will admit that. Also with things like duck, and some of those lighter things like duck confit, and just when you cook it down slowly, it kind of falls off the bone. It's a fantastic style of wine, and I mean, I like the fact that it's from Bulgaria. This is
this would go good with the Ramones, in my opinion.
The Ramones, there you go. There probably is a band like the Ramones in Bulgaria. I was thinking, some other dance music, but I think that the Ramones just took over the world, and no one could stop them. So for sure, this is Ramones worthy. And the fact is, it's quite refreshing too.
Bust some of this out.
That is a good wine. So that's a good one to start with.
La Photography.
La Photography, 2014.
Beautiful.
My accent is not very good. We'll get one of my friends from Bulgaria in here sometime. I know quite a few of them, a couple sommeliers. Nadia is one of them, beautiful. And my great friend Milo. So I don't want to go too far into them because we want them on the show to talk about this stuff with us. the next time will be a charm when I bring them on. But let's taste another one. So this is Evo Verbano, and this is 2011. 2011 was a hard vintage here in California, just because we had rain, and it was rough. We made it out of it. There were great wines that came out of it. They tasted a little bit different than the typical wines of a great vintage, but they were very lovable. Here in Bulgaria, a pretty good vintage, and so this is a Merlot Syrah blend. So once again, we got Syrah in this blend. One of the things about Merlot that a lot of people do not understand is that Merlot is actually one of the most grown grapes of the world, not only in Bordeaux and here on the West Coast, especially upstate New York is a little bit of it, but on the West Coast, you've got a lot more up in Washington, Lower Oregon, and a ton here in California. And when it became the coolest grape to grow on the face of the planet at one point, back in the 80s and into the 90s, there are great reasons for that. It's smooth, it's confident, it's wonderful. It goes with more food. Let's be real frank about that. The tannins are balanced in Merlot. And that's why you can grow it near Pinot Noir. You can't grow Cabernet near Pinot Noir because Cabernet just needs hot air. It needs to be in heat. And it tastes like it. And the wines, types of Cabernet that you pair with those kinds of foods are bigger styles. I mean, they're going to be meaty kinds of dishes, and get some Cabernet, and we'll taste some Cabernets in a few minutes that are going to be awesome. But Merlot has that finesse. It has a lot more stuff going on in it. And we called it the bridge wine in the old days because it was like that first red wine that we could really pair with fish. And we could go with pork, and we could go with white meats like chicken. And it made a big difference. And in the 80s and 90s, and going back to Duckhorn, they were one of those great pioneers in Napa Valley. You go to Sonoma County, you talk about St. Francis Winery, Gunlock Bundschuh, and all these great wineries that we talk about through the years. They're kind of all that do Cabernet now. A lot of them had a lot to do with the growth of Merlot in the old days. So being over in Bulgaria, where we're at right now, tasting this wine, it's a little bit different. But the fact is, if you can grow Cabernet in that area, you can grow Merlot. If it's in a cooler kind of climate area. And Syrah is an interesting one because it can grow in cooler climate and hot climate. So here we go with a blend of Syrah and Merlot. So let's try this one.
All right. Oh, so that's what gives it the subtleness of not a super heavy Merlot, right?
Jess is in the house too. Hello, Jess. How are you doing? Did you get some of this too? This is cool. We're tasting Bulgaria right now.
Yeah, she's having some Lassiter.
No, yeah.
I'm doing.
Sorry,
I'm doing
you're just
Merlot.
floating on. She's floating on clouds. She's having some of the Lassiter wines. Okay.
But yeah, when I think of a Merlot, I think of something much heavier. You know what I mean? Something with the cigar and the steak and the.
We had a great bottle of the. It's in the 98. It was down in the cellar this weekend.
It was really pleasant.
98 Matanzas Creek Merlot, and it was fantastic. And I just had a 2005 Buena Vista one that Jeff Stewart made, and man, Merlot can hold up. Boom. This is delicious. This has much more of that cherry flavor. It's got almost like a kind of a pomegranate kind of note to it too. It's got some strength. It does have a little bit more of a wildness to it. I like this wine. This is the kind of wine that you would have with a lot of those kinds of grilled vegetables in Bulgaria, a lot of the specialty kinds of dishes, a lot of fowl, a lot of even fish could go with this, as long as it's a bigger style of fish. But I think this is a very good example of that. And this is a 2011 vintage, so
2011.
It's got a little bit of cellar on it. But you know what? I think it's tasting extremely well right now.
Really
you know what else I think would be really good with this is mushrooms. And a band I'm thinking of right now?
Yeah.
I know this is crazy, and it doesn't have much to do with mushrooms, but it does have to do with their hats. Devo. We were talking about Devo, And Devo, they must know Devo songs in Bulgaria too, and they can dance to that, and so can I. And the fact is that, you know, when you talk about wild mushrooms and those kinds of things, and you get out there and these kinds of elements that are crazy. And that was the Devo tunes of the old days, you know, that were so fun and so interesting that made us dance. And I have heard things that one of the Devo members is starting a winery in Sonoma. That's
Very
just
nice.
a little tidbit for you, and we will investigate.
Eva Verbano, Merlot and Syrah 2011,
I think it's fantastic.
Thracian Valley.
And this would be one that I would do with kind of harder cheeses, like Pecorino, Manchego. You know, it can take it. It can take the salt, to be really honest. And I think that's where the Syrah really comes in well, is it really works very well with that salt. I think this is a fantastic wine to be tasting right now. And, you know, the first one was about $15. I think this one's right at about the $20 range. So it's great that our friends in Sonoma are doing this. And on the website, I'll have information about them as well. And you can see the last one that we filmed. I posted all that information, and you can see all that as well. And plus our music picks, of course.
Yeah, we'll have that and all that stuff in the show notes.
So the show notes will be out later. But first of all, this is the Minkov brothers again. That last one was not. That was its own brand. But this one is the tradition since 1875. So you've got brothers that went back a long ways.
Wow.
This is a 2013 vintage. It has won a lot of national awards. And this is what we would call a cuvee. So the Cuvée 2013, the breakdown on this is 40% Cabernet, 40% Syrah, and 20% Merlot. So once again, you've got Syrah in there, you've got 40% Syrah, 40% Cabernet, 20% Merlot. To be really honest, this is not a crazy way of blending. In fact, if you go to Australia, it is one of those amazing places where you really find in some of the great brands like Penfolds, which is Cabernet and Syrah together. It's fantastic, but it works together. And so for them to be doing this in Bulgaria makes a ton of sense. So let's taste this. Adolfo has his glass. Jess, you cool back there?
I'm all good.
Okay, she's all good. Just making sure. Taking care of friends. Boom. That's what I do.
Wow.
So this is from the Thracian Valley. And once again, as I said earlier, this is an area kind of in the south of Bulgaria. The reason that it's so good down there is just because it does have the influence of the Black Sea, and also the amazing ability of different things. Sorry about that. Of different air streams that are coming in through the mountains. They're not as cold as they could be if the mountains weren't there, but they definitely do make a difference to stop that airflow of all the cold air. So it's warm enough there to ripen these grapes, and I think this is a great example of this. So right away, it's deep, it's complex. It's really pretty, actually.
It really is.
This is a very elegant style of wine. I can tell just by, you know,
like a vanilla
I did open these bottles, and I took one sip out of each one. I kind of got a little feel for this. Not much, but I'm liking where it's at right now.
Wow, it smells great. Ooh, wow. That's so good.
I get more blue fruit out of this.
Interesting.
I get that blueberry out of here. You know, definitely more of like a black raspberry. There's some spices in here that are very nice. It's a complex wine. Once again, it's not as tannic as some of the stuff we have in America. And I think that's maybe because, let's look at the alcohol, 14.5. I think it's pretty true to the 14.5. I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually a little bit less than that, because it doesn't taste like it's big. It doesn't taste like that. It tastes like it's very balanced, and that people will love this wine. If you serve this to someone blind and you said, this is the right thing to be doing with your pork right now, or with your lamb skewers, I think that would be a very good one, is with lamb
Yeah.
in this. For music, I'd probably be doing Daft Punk, but just because you gotta
That's
get
fun.
into that. I think it's pretty dark, and
Mm.
if you get into some of their earlier albums, not the new poppy stuff,
I'll go Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin. Ooh, okay, that's a good debate, and I say we listen to both later, and we'll debate that till this bottle's done.
Mm. I love this stuff.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's got tons of finesse. It's balanced, and definitely it's got that blueberry note to it that you gotta love. So very impressed by these. And once again, just to give, and she did provide us with a little chocolate. Let me try this real quick.
Chocolat.
Little chocolate.
Minkoff Brothers. Cuvette. 2013.
I like that. What are you thinking,
40,
Jess?
20.
Are you feeling that with the chocolate?
It's delicious.
I think it's a little. Here, you better have another bite. But it's nice because this chocolate is kind of a little bit like, it's dark, but it also has that little milk chocolate kind of savory smoothness to it too. When you get into it, it's Mexican chocolate. That makes total sense because going with the Merlot part in here, that 20% Merlot, which is much more comparable to milk chocolate often, or mocha, things like that. This goes really extremely good with that. Yeah, we need to do more investigation. We need to put the albums on, and we need to keep eating this chocolate with it too. But just a little shout out once again to my good friends, the Bulgarian Master Vintners LLC, the great friends I have in Sonoma, and thank you once again for sharing this great wine with us, or these three great wines. And it was a great play tonight with going through Sonoma County, where you guys are based, and importing these wines into the United States, and then going into Bulgaria, and then we're going to go into Rutherford next. So Napa Valley, big time. So Adolfo, did we like that last round?
It was wonderful.
Are you cool? Are you sold on Bulgaria?
Oh my gosh!
Are you going to go on
Minkoff Brothers? My gosh, I'm gonna go get a Minkoff Brothers tattoo.
Yeah, we got to get on a boat to get over there pretty quick. Let's just do this. So loved it. So
wonderful.
So next up, we've got the great Rutherford wines. Just recently, I got the amazing opportunity to be at the Rutherford Dust Tasting, and I actually got to host the panel. So I was the main moderator for the big tasting. And what we did there, Rutherford, for those of you that don't know Napa Valley like the back of your hand, and a lot of people do at this point, and Cabernet Sauvignon and Napa Valley hand in hand all the time. What's great about Rutherford is it has a reputation that goes so far back. I mean, it goes back to the 1870s when the first winery was built there. The first wine that we're going to taste today is the Alpha Omega, and this is from the Beckstoffer Vineyard. I'm going to get a little bit closer there so you can see that. Beckstoffer George III, Rutherford, 2013.
And just for all the listeners, so you know, all the wines mentioned and everything mentioned on the show today will be in our show notes. We will provide to you guys.
Indeed, and that's
links and all.
That's on Nerd Stalkers and on SawyerSomm.com.
Right.
So one thing about Alpha Omega that I really love is their commitment to quality. They make great wines. They are consistent in great wines, and they're based in Rutherford. So let's go back for a minute to what I was just saying. 1870s, the first vines are planted there. And the first, well, there were vines there already, but the first winery was open. What was that winery? Inglenook. So we go up 6 years, and there was a different guy, Gustav, Niebaum, and Gustav Niebaum purchased that. He was kind of a fur trader. He was actually Finnish, lived in Alaska, came to San Francisco, and loved wine. He purchased that winery when it was in its infancy. And to be really honest, he was the main reason that there were 1,000 acres planted there within the next 10 years in that area. Why is Rutherford, since it's in the middle of Napa Valley, and it's just past Oakville. And before you get to St. Helena, it's kind of really in that fat spot. The reason is because it is the widest part of the entire valley. It's about 6 miles wide right there.
Wow.
And why is that of any importance to any of us? Well, when you have 6 miles wide and basically 6 miles square, you're going into a zone there where it gets a lot of good sun exposure. It gets a lot of wind drafts that are coming from the north and the south. It has different, very interesting soils, and we'll get into that in a second. But the fact is, it really became a place that was an epicenter for starting to grow Cabernet Sauvignon there. And one of the great people that started that whole movement was Andrei Chelychev. And Andrei Chelychev was the winemaker at Beaulieu Vineyards. So if you guys have ever been to Beaulieu Vineyards, ever tasted a Beaulieu Vineyards wine, anything like that with BV on it, that was Andrei Chelychev, even though it was started in 1900, that winery. The fact is that Andrei Chelychev worked there for over 70 years, or almost 70 years. I mean, the man was a legend. And the fact is that he knew that was a special place. And so he said at one point, I'm trying to quote him directly. I wish I had my pad in front of me, but I do not. But I'll do my best Andrei Chelychev interpretation. The fact is that it takes Rutherford dust to grow great Cabernet Sauvignon. What did he mean by that? We have tried to figure that out since 1994 when the Rutherford Dust Society was invented and formed. And they are a great organization, and I go to their tasting every single year because I'm fascinated by this area. And so to be the moderator of a great tasting, and we tasted the 2013 vintage. And that's what this Alpha Omega is 2013. The other two that we're going to taste are 2013 as well. Oh. It's a very special vintage, not just for Rutherford, but for Napa Valley. It's one of those dreams of winemakers when they say everything is right here. The sun is right. The fruit set in spring is right. We know we're going to have enough crop. We know everything's going to happen. They never got the rain. They never got these cold nights where you had to worry about frost. It was a perfect thing for winemakers, and there was plenty of it. And so tasting through these wines recently with a lot of my peers, Karen McNeil and Charlie from the Connoisseur's Guide, and Wilfred Wong from wine.com, and all of these guys were there with me. And what a great opportunity to taste through these wines and to be there with none other than Andy Beckstoffer on the panel with me. So wow. Andy Beckstoffer for George III Vineyard. This man is in love with great wines. And I will say something, we will not taste them today, but you should taste them often, is the Sauvignon Blancs from this region. And Andy, in particular, has a love for those Sauvignon Blancs, and so do I. And to be really honest, it is the number 2 grape grown in that area. Cabernet takes up about 70% of the grapes grown in that region.
Wow.
70%. Obviously, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Sauvignon Blanc, number 2. Merlot, number 3. Cabernet Franc, number 4. And then a lot of other things that come up behind it. Petit Verdot is kind of growing in popularity, but also, Sangiovese grows there. Things grow there. So those older kinds of farmers that came to the area were not crazy. They knew exactly what they were doing. And let's get back to Inglenook. So Inglenook Winery was the legendary winery, and that's where we did this tasting at. Wow. And it became called Niebaum Coppola at one point. And this is the first winery that Francis Ford Coppola purchased. Yeah. And it was Niebaum Coppola for a long time because he wanted to give credit to the person that really brought the area up. And I give nothing but the biggest kudos ever to Francis Ford Coppola. And I know Francis, he's a great friend of mine and a great friend of John Lasseter and Nancy Lasseter's as well, and a great supporter of Sonoma County and his great winery there too, Coppola. But the fact is that he changed the name back to Inglenook recently. It was about 2 or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that was a big deal for him. And I feel like that really gives the credit back to the area it deserves. That was the first winery. It was called Inglenook. And he has done that.
Good for him.
And at one point, we will taste through those Inglenook wines. And who knows? Maybe we'll be with Francis. I don't know. But the fact is, he loves wine. He's done a great job. And the Rutherford Dust tasting, where we got to investigate all these wines, was done at Inglenook. So let's taste through this. Once again, this is the great Alpha Omega, which is based right there in Rutherford. This
2013,
is 2013
Sauvignon.
Yep, and
George's 3.
George the Third. So
Rutherford Napa Valley.
one of the great vineyards there too is the George Latour vineyard. So if you taste those, the highest end kinds of Beaulieu vineyards, I mean that's George Latour. I mean, I've had the opportunity to taste through those wines, and they age so well. But just through the times and what we've been able to learn from this area, it's so fascinating to just have all the winemakers there with you and telling you what they're getting out of this vintage, and just to get really into it. I haven't heard so many winemakers that are just bubbling in every single way. My good friend Joel Aiken, whose Aiken's wines are amazing. And he was the winemaker at BV for quite a while too. He was there. He was having out-of-body experiences. I saw him. He was floating on clouds because these were great wines. And the fact is that it's a great vintage, and we should all be excited about it. So let's taste this. Number one thing about this vintage, these wines are big.
Yeah.
Is this wine perfect out of bottle right now? No. And the only reason it's not is because it's so big and it's so pent up and it's so young that it needs some air. And the fact is, we just opened it a little while ago, and I never aerated it or anything, or decanted it. I don't like aerators, so it would have to be, kind of decanted. But the fact is, it needs to be decanted just to show its greatness to you. There was one of these that I felt like it didn't need decanting as much. This one should have decanting, but that's a great example of one that it's even funner when you bring it to the table and you spend, a few bucks on this wine. These are not inexpensive wines, but the fact is they are there for you to have great times with. It's to decant them. Put it in a decanter for an hour ahead of time, or just age it. I mean, this is the vintage. And I said this as part of that panel. This is the vintage when me as a sommelier, I'm going to buy as much of this 13 as I can get. And the reason is because I can't wait to see some of these wines that I don't sell actually age in the cellar.
Right.
So they have the ability to even change and become even bigger and more lush and wonderful, and the complex flavors come out of them. And I feel like this is a good example. It's just so young right now. It's it's fascinating tasting it because it's got so much to give right now. And right now, venison would be great to have with it. A big fat steak would have to go into that direction right now. Blue cheese, yeah. Getting into more pristine kinds of dishes, you're talking about aging this one.
Yeah, but it's really good with cheese. I just had it with some cheese. And
do you have it with some blue?
Quite good.
Yeah. Jess is getting us some blue. We gotta take the full idea and make it real.
Go to the camera.
I don't know if you want the seed cracker with it, so.
Right? One.
Again, Alpha Mega 2013 Cabernet Sauvignon.
Cuts right through that blue cheese. Wow. Hello. Loving it. So congratulations to Alpha Omega on a fantastic wine. So that was a really, really great one. And let's just keep it going. The next one we're going to taste is from another great vineyard. So this is the Hewitt Vineyard. And this is the Cabernet Sauvignon from there. It's Rutherford right here, estate grown. So this is all from, If you guys know Provenance, the great brand, this is from the people that make Provenance, but this is from their specific smaller, a little bit more of a just their own estate vineyard. So there's a difference when you get into Napa. If you put Napa Valley on a label, that doesn't mean it's from your estate. It could be sourced fruit where you're buying it from a very good person like Andy Beckstoffer. But if you buy it from Andy Beckstoffer, oh, thank you.
I'm just showing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think we should drink this one out of here too. I mean, first of all, this don't get carpal tunnel just from lifting that.
Holy cow!
This is a very big bottle, and it probably weighs about 7 pounds. What do you think? Five
that's
pounder?
legit. Yeah, it's like a 5-pound bottle.
Man. But once again, the 2013 vintage.
You're getting your money's worth with this.
And Hewitt is kind of behind where Gurgitch Hills is. So if you guys know where Gurgitch Hills is, just as you get, it's actually on the northern side of Rutherford, but it's that area right behind there, and it's a really special vineyard. It has a lot of history. It has a very concentrated kind of flavor to it. Mm-hmm. What is the Rutherford dust that we were talking about? Yeah. And the fact is that the Rutherford dust is kind of that minerally kind of note to it, but it's also that mocha kind of thing that's going on, especially in the nose. And I gotta say, Adolfo, this one has the mocha.
Wow.
It's got it right in the nose. It's almost like when you have an ice cream cone that's like one of those waffle cones.
Yeah, right.
It smells a little bit like that, and that's that use of oak on it. But it's so graceful and wonderful, and it invites you in, and the mocha note just makes you want more.
You bet.
It's not quite as tight as the Alpha Omega, so that's what's showing a little bit more. It's got a lot more than just the fruit there. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really well integrated. Winemaker there is a superstar, just like Andy Beckstoffer, as he's the great grower. You got to have great winemakers to do this too. And this is a fantastic wine, this Hewitt. So let's taste it. Smooth, rich.
Oh yeah.
Lovely, lively. A little bit more user-friendly and approachable up front than the last one we just tasted.
Yeah.
But does it have the girth to continue on to be a very age-worthy wine? Of course. I mean, I think it's just a different kind of animal. And this one is a little bit more with that fur that you want to pet. It's got that little bit of softer fur that you really want in on. It's not the super animal like the last one, which was heavy, intensive, and really, like needs a little bit of time. This one is actually quite approachable. I've always liked the Hewitt wines, and I've carried them on wine lists that I've had through the years because maybe it's only a 6-pack that I bought. But the fact is, when I open it for people and they really wanted that experience with a wine that had that kind of grace and sense of sight, this has got it. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah.
Are you feeling that one too?
Oh man, I'm feeling it in my left bicep. This bottle, I mean, it's a beast, people. 2013 Cab Sauvignon Hewlett Vineyard. Legit.
Yes.
Serious stuff.
Yeah. Back to reality here. I mean, it's big. It's there's a lot more of that plum berry.
Bands, music, song.
This one's a little more graceful. There's a great band that it's not like in your face. They're just like really good. It's called Rah Rah Riots. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, out of Boston. I saw them at Gunlock Bundshoe Winery some time ago, but they use like harps and they use violins and they've got all this stuff going on behind their kind of amazing lyrics.
Nice.
And kind of rock music, but they're like a complete band. So it's not just that lead singer and that guitarist or the super hipsters. Everyone's a hipster in there. And I feel like that this has that many layers that the Rah Rah Riots would be the thing that I would probably
Very
want to be
nice.
listening to right now.
I'm going Fleetwood Mac.
Okay, Fleetwood Mac. You stop making me want to hug Stevie Nicks again. Damn it.
Wow.
Balanced.
Napa Valley Estate Grown.
Ooh, good wine. Good wine.
Mm.
If I can get to it, which I will, don't worry. Just give me time. I do have a lot of deadlines coming up here for Somm Journal, tasting panel, more stuff with Napa Sonoma magazine. But I've got some cover stories coming up. Dominus in Yountville, I'll be doing their 30-year anniversary.
Wow.
A story with them coming up for Somm Journal, and all these other things. But I do want to write down all my notes about Yountville. So be watching SawyerSomm.com. It's just because we did rank them, and we had people, really great judges and great people there. And it was just it was an amazing experience, what people thought and which ones ranked high and which ones ranked low or whatever. This one was up near the top. They both were. But I think it was just a great experience, and you'll see it's hard to judge those 2013s because there's so many good ones out there right now. So speaking of which, let's finish off right now. So this is the SR Tamela Cellars 2013 Rutherford. I'll just be flat out honest. Not many people have heard from about this winery in general. And, the reason is this is an old family. And I will say this, when this one ranked very high and Andy Beckstoffer was on the panel with me, and we're going to be doing another thing, Andy and I, at Flavor Napa Valley next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited because we're going to be spotlighting the Tokalon Vineyard from Oakville. And he's going to be on the panel again with me, and it's going to be great. That's going to be in March. So set your calendars now. Last weekend in March, you need to be in Napa Valley because
All right, another
this
event,
is how
people.
it's going down. Andy Beckstoffer and I on stage doing it again, but we're talking about a different area. But the fact is, what Andy said when this ranked well, and we had no idea what these 13 wines were that we were actually judging and tasting as an entire group, because they were picked out by people from a much bigger group than that. I think it was 33 wines originally, and all these winemakers got together and they picked out, it was like, sorry, I might be wrong, but I think it was 15 wines that we tasted. I just remember our amazing table being very crowded, and each one of us speaking a lot about that. But the great thing about this winery and what Andy told me about it was this is an old family. This is a family that helped establish this area. And they were never known for their wines. They were known for their being great growers and for being great people that were true farmers. So that's what makes this one a little bit more special. And I think that based on that and how we really look at Rutherford, you got to look back at the history of this area. I mean, it's an amazing area. It's great people that moved there, and they felt very strong about it, and they stayed there. So the Tamela family was one of them, and the fact is, this wine ranked very, very well, and that's why I'm very glad to have some of it right now in the glass. So let's kind of go through this one. Deeper nose here. Definitely, it's got a lot of that kind of dried rose petal. It's a little bit floral, actually. See those roses right behind me. It is a little bit more floral. The fact is that it's also got a little bit of oak on it, but it's fine French oak. You can just smell that fine French tight-grained oak on it. But that's not a problem. Just means it's young too, so it hasn't completely integrated, but those rose petals are amazing.
How about that?
It's lovely. It's lush. It's got deeper black fruits. Lots of juicy berries in here. He's loving it. I'm feeling it. This is a great wine.
Oh yeah.
This is that.
Wow.
This is a Tamela. And so as I was just saying that this is really an old family from the area.
It's a good closer.
I mean, wow, it has tons of finesse to it too. So it's interesting because the first wine was tight. I kind of put it there because I didn't really taste through them. So being blind here and not knowing, going back over my notes prior to this, because I wanted it to be just like if you were tasting these wines, I might have put this in a different order. I might have put this one first. I probably would have left the Hewitt right in the middle. And I probably would have put the Alpha Omega at the end, just because the Alpha Omega is a
I agree. Yeah.
big wine. And the funniest thing is that that's the Andy Beckstoffer Vineyard, and he gives you a lot. I mean, and everyone knows that, and that's why Andy's a legend of Napa Valley, and he should be. But this one has that charm and class of a Napa Valley wine that you really want. This is like a sommelier would love this wine because I can think about this many types of food that I can pair this with versus just going down that straight line like that. It's a chef's fave in the making, I feel, and it's just a really classy wine. I'm really glad to get to know this family too, and that's the SR Tonello.
Yeah, so srtonellasellers.com. That's SRTONELLA sellers.com. Calistoga, California.
Yep. That's where they're based. The fruit for this comes from Rutherford, because remember, we're doing all Rutherford in this one. But the fact is, yum.
Mm-hmm.
You feeling that yum factor?
Digging it.
Wow.
Beautiful Tonella.
So it's just neat being able to go through these wines tonight with you guys. I'm just glad you were.
What are you thinking? What band with Tonella?
This is another finesse one though, but let's go back. You're going 260s and 70s.
Yeah, I know. I'm going Prince. This one.
Ooh. Okay. Which album?
Gosh, 1999. Yeah, Raspberry. That's a good one too.
Raspberry Beret.
Good call.
You know what? That one was a little bit under the radar. You listened to Raspberry Beret album today. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's a good.
You know what? And Prince, he's the man. He still is the man. And I gotta say one thing too. I believe it was yesterday. And someone did post this on Facebook. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's Christopher Sawyer Sommelier and the Nerd Stalker right here.
That's right.
Adolfo Foronda. But it would have been, it was on Twitter. I know. It was on Twitter. That's Sawyer Sommelier and Nerd Stalker again. But Michael Jackson would have been 68 yesterday.
Wow.
So happy birthday, Michael.
Controversial figure. Whatever.
Yeah, but
great music.
He did make us dance. My mom would be 69 today, but that didn't end well either. So cancer sucks. Fight it any way possible. She can't be at my brother's wedding, which is a terrible thing. And I will say this right here on air. You know, one of the last things she said to me is, make sure he marries that girl.
Yeah.
And guess what?
That's great.
She's doing it, Mom. So
right.
Boom.
Ended on a happy note here. All right. So some wonderful wines tonight. We've got the Davis Bynum, the Dry Creek, the Lassiter, the Minkoff, Ivo Verbano, Minkoff Galore, Alpha Mega, Hewitt Vineyards, Tonella. This will all be in the show notes. I am Adolfo Foronda at Nerdstalker, as Chris said on Twitter, or at Foronda on Twitter, nerdstalker.com. And you are?
Christopher Sawyer, Sommelier to the Stars, and SawyerSomm.com, and Sommelier Files, which is my newsletter each week.
Great. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and enjoy the wine.
Enjoy the wine. Cheers.